Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Straight Up Talk with Earl Rush and Eileen Torres. This evening, Eileen will go one on one with the legendary Benny Bonilla, who's also Richie Bonilla's brother. Before we go into the show, now thank everybody for tuning in. I just wanted to give a special clave out to Eileen for coming on board to the show and taking the show to a completely different, higher level. I mean, views have gone up immensely. The guests have just been, most of them have been Grammy Award winners or legendary in the field of Mambo. So I just wanted to take the time out to thank her. I'll talk to her about it later. But we're going to go now and see if we can catch up with Eileen Torres and Benny Bonilla.
Hey, and there's Benny.
There you go. All right, Eileen, I'll be on the board.
Okay. All right, Benny, welcome. And what a great honor it is to have you here to talk about what your life has been like, what it was like in the very early days. And so I want to begin by you telling us when and where you were born. So let's just start right there.
First of all, I was born on East Harlem, 115th Street and Madison Avenue. Uh, that's where most of the Latins lived. That's why they called it El Barrio, the village. And I was born in 1934. That makes me a couple of inches away from 88. Wow. And I also want to add, I want to thank you and Earl for inviting me. I think that was very nice of these guys, because most people don't want to hear about the old days. And
Yes, we do, and we are very grateful to you for agreeing to come on the show because what you have to talk to us about imparts such a depth of knowledge that most of us don't have because you were there very, very early on. My days go back to the Corso. So I never made it to the Palladium, but you can tell us about things. So what I want to talk about first of all is, okay, so you grew up in El Barrio and you were, as you told me, one of two children, you and your younger brother, Richie Bonilla.
right.
So tell me what music you were listening to and the venue from which the music came to you.
Okay. Uh, Being the year 1930s, there was, of course, no television, no stereos. So what the average Puerto Rican had was a radio. And they were almost every apartment and every building had station WWRL, which was the only Latin station on the air. So all day long you will hear rumba, bolero, son montuno, you know, and that's all you heard. So that's where I started picking up the melodies in my head. And what really pushed me over the line was I must have been 4 or 5 years old. I was a baby, and my mother took me with her to the Spanish Theater. There was one Spanish theater on Atlantic Fifth Avenue and 116th Street, Teatro Hispano, and we saw this great movie, etc., etc. But what knocked me out was that when the movie was over, the lights went on, and when I looked, there's a band at the bottom of the stage. It's called the Pit. 16-piece band, I tell you. And they're tuning up. I ran to the railing and I'm sitting there looking at them. Saying, oh my God, man, what is it? Anyway, it left a very, very big impression on me. you know.
God, what if we had that today? You go to the theater and then voila, there's a big band that plays after. That would
Right.
be remarkable.
Well, you know, even when I was a young adult, but still no television, nothing. They had theater shows at the Paramount Theater or the Roxy Theater on Broadway, and they would have these big shows. And that was another area where you get wide-eyed when you see the band coming up from the bottom of the stage on an elevator, and you see a 18-piece band in front of you. Oh my God, man! You know what I mean? Anyway,
Wow.
so that affected me a lot, you know. So, but the one in East Harlem when I was a baby, then I started popping on the tables and everything. And before you know it, my grandmother tells me, Junior, ven acá. And she gives me an oatmeal box. You all remember the round Quaker oat,
Yep.
oat box.
Yep.
And that was my drum, you know.
Hmm.
Now, I didn't mention this earlier. My brother was involved too. He's 3 years younger than me. So he wants to follow me, but he don't have a drum. He don't have an oatmeal box. So my grandmother gives him a tuturu. So he used to take a tuturu and he'd follow me tuturu, tuturu. So years later, when I was talking about that, somebody said to me, "Excuse me, Benny, but what's a tuturu?" Yo, man, tuturu is the middle of a toilet roll tissue. It's a cardboard round thing. Go
Right.
tuturu. All right. That was my brother's first instrument.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You're starting a band, huh?
Oh. So he had a good time. He had a good time.
Now,
Yeah.
let me ask you, in that theater, Teatro Hispano, do you remember the band, the first band that you saw, whose band it was?
Alberto Socaras. That was
What a
one of
name.
that was one of the biggest bands in Latin music then. You know what I mean? He was a composer, uh, instrumentalist, and he was just, I didn't know at the time. I found that out when I became a musician. When I was taught, they told me, but you know, that was Alberto Socaras, man.
Wow.
Wow, man, you know. But that was very, and then on top of that, he's backing up all these artists. He's backing them up, and we got artists from all over the world. You give me a second.
Okay.
I give I give you an idea of the artists that used to perform there.
Okay.
Carlos Gardel,
Oh my God.
Libertad Lamarque,
Wow.
Miguelito Valdez, Toño La Negra,
Wow.
Maria Antoneta Pons, the rumba dancer.
Oh, I didn't know who that is.
Oh yeah, well, she was like the Marilyn Monroe of those days, man.
Wow.
Okay, Ting Tang, he was a comic in Mexico.
Right.
Cantinflas, he was a
Huge.
comic in Mexico,
Yeah.
and uh, and various bands, Marcelino Guerra, Julian Dino, but those those people came from all over South America, Spain, to perform in East Harlem, and it was mind-boggling to see such a great artist. You know what I mean, and
Remarkable.
yeah, but
Remarkable.
you never saw that again. You never once that theater. You, they used to bring in bands. I mean, artists from Spain or South America to the Chateau Madrid.
Uh-huh.
The Chateau Madrid was on 40 something, 48th Street, I think, and they specialize in bringing artists from South American country and Spain, and that's where you had to go to see those kind of acts. But it was very expensive. Yeah, I mean,
Well, in those days, sure.
yeah, very expensive. So
Now, let me ask you. So, you started playing the Quaker Oats box. So, were you always drawn to percussion, or were there other instruments that caught your attention?
no, I stayed uh, with the conga. My mother gave me the money to buy a conga. Uh, at that time, a conga now is $350 and up.
Mm-hmm.
My conga that I bought cost $12
Wow.
at that time in 1945, 44. Yeah, I mean,
And tell us where you purchased it. This is a
oh
very
yeah,
interesting story.
yeah. My cousin's best friend was Willie Carter. Willie Carter later in life changed his name to Willie Bobo.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, and he was a very well-known musician, very good. And he he knew I was learning, so he gave me some lessons because he was learning also. But he told me you have to buy a drum. So he was the one who told me how much it was, $12. And he said, when you have the $12, I'll take you. So a couple of weeks later, I got the $12, and I saw really, I got the $12. He said, well, let's go. And he took me to this a bakery. It was a bakery. They sold hot cakes and rolls and bread and pastries. And in the back, rows and rows of conga drums. He used to,
Amazing.
yeah, he used to import conga drums, but just the shells and unpainted and sell them. He'd sell them to all the big musicians, Mongo Santa Maria, Chano Pozo, Jose Manuel. All those guys used to buy it from him. Well, actually, he was the only one that sold it. He was the only one. So that's where I bought my drum. You know what I mean?
And what was his name and where was he from?
Oh, his name was Simon. And it's Simon's Bakery between 115 and 116 on Lenox Avenue. And of
Where
course,
was
that's
where was he from? Where was Simon
the
from?
Cuban,
Cuban.
Cuba. That was because the Cuba is really the home of all this stuff that came from Cuba, man. But and all the older musicians will hang out there because he had an area in the back of the store where he allowed them to chit chat and hang out and smoke cigars. And I walk in there and I said, "Oh my God, that's Mongo Santa Maria. Oh man, that's Chana Porsche. Oh my God." You know what I mean? So so that's where I got my drum. But then after I buy the drum, he tells me now, you got to buy a skin. You buy a skin? Yeah, I don't have no skin. So the skin is like a cardboard, stiff in boxes. So he picked one out for me, and he tells me, Willie Bobo tells me, you put this in the bathtub overnight, and it gets soft. Then you and Richie put it on and tack it on with tacks, carpet tacks all around, and leave it alone for a day, and it will get hard. Then you go boom, boom, then it's tight. But even after that, if you took a conga to or bongo, the same thing. If you took it to a dance, after the few numbers, it gets soft. So they used to sell these sterno cans, sterno that you light with a
Uh-huh.
match,
Uh-huh.
and so you see the rhythm section warming up their skins in between the songs, man, or at the beginning of the set,
Wow.
tighten the skin so you go doom 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 doom. Okay, that's good. And then an hour later they would have to do it again tune up, until they invented the hooks, the tuning, So that was the end of the stern. Okay, but that was
Gosh,
my first drum.
I never heard that before. That's
It's like a dinosaur. I mean, that's way back. You know what I mean?
wow, but
So,
that's what you did. So who did you learn to play from, or did you learn by
uh,
ear?
well, I got a couple of lessons from Willie Bobo, but he was too busy learning his stuff. You know what I mean? So actually, when I moved to the Bronx in 1944, we moved to the Bronx, which I hated. Oh my God! I mean, I almost fainted when my mother said, "We're moving." What? Yeah, okay. So I love this. We get on the subway to go to where we moved to, the Bronx. Now, I had never been on the subway, ever.
Okay.
So I'm riding the subway, and we go 116, 135th, 125th, and after 135th Street, it comes out of the hole up to the elevated. And I never saw a train going out of a hole into an elevated track ever. So I was stunned. Oh my God, man. I ran to the front of and I'm looking out the window, the houses on down, it was like a culture shock. You know what I mean? It was like I was in a different world. And so finally we get to our stop. It was about four stops after we came out of 149th Street. And we get out, um, we're walking down, and the first thing I noticed is that there's no Spanish people there, man. No,
What?
no, man. My block had three Spanish families. Three. The rest was all Jewish, all up and down Jewish, or good people. They would all sit outside the houses in their chairs, you know. And I thought, wow, where are we, man? You know what I mean? So at that time, there was no Israel. So we thought they were Palestinians. Yeah, yeah.
Hmm.
Oh, they might be from Palestine, man. Yeah. So anyway, that was a big culture shock. So I would go to school down the block, but after school on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, no, usually Saturday and Sunday, I would sneak on the train and go back to the barrio to hang out with my cousins.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Any
So
famous
every
cousins?
weekend I would sneak on the train and go back to the barrio to go to get get into the groove, get my groove back.
Mm-hmm.
But I couldn't keep that up. I was too young, and then my mother found out, so she smacked me in the head and told me, "Don't do that no more." You know what I mean? So I had to stay in the Bronx. Eventually, I got accustomed because I made friends in the Bronx.
Mm-hmm.
One time, my best and friend was Ray Montilla. We were going to school together,
Wow.
and he was already advanced. He was a conga player, but he had been doing it for like about a year or two professionally. I was not professional yet, so I used to go to his house to listen to records, 78s, and we practiced. But the first time I sat down in front of him and he put on the knee and dun dun paka paka dun dun, he told me, "Yo, Benny, that's terrible, man. What you're doing. You know, you never will be a professional playing like dun dun pop pop dun dun. There's a ride to it, man." So he taught me that. He taught
Okay.
me that. He taught me how to do it the right way and get the right beat, and how to keep time the right way.
Uh-huh.
That, without Ray, I would never have learned that, man. In the meantime, uh, I'm like I told you, I'm making friends. So, uh, and the way you make friends is by getting into stickball on Kelly Street, on Jackson Avenue. So I meet Hector Rivera, and he's already a piano player. He's learning piano. But Hector Rivera came from a very poor family. I don't know how his mother got the half a dollars to pay for his lessons, man, because they were poor, man. But he got it, and so I started hanging out with Hector, going here and there. So he made a little band.
Mm-hmm.
So naturally, I'm in the band because we hang out together.
Uh-huh.
And so I was in Hector's band for quite a while, man.
Well,
But
let's stop there because
yeah,
a lot of people may not know who Hector Rivera is, and
yes,
one of our favorite DJ, Bruno, who played at Zanzibar for so many years, would play Hector Rivera, and this was one of the songs that I love by him. So let's hear a little bit because I think people
yeah.
who are listening who used to go to Zanzibar will recognize this song. Then we're going to come back and talk a little bit more about Hector. So
Okay.
Earl, if you'll play.
Que ya mi gente yo le invito a guarachea, pero ahora paso que ya van, pero ahora paso que ya van, qué rico está para bailar, mi son de monte adentro para embarcar, qué bueno está para vacilar, para bailar. Qué bueno se ambiente. Que mira Vicente. Oye, yo soy el siguiente. Oye, que vengo caliente. Aquí atrapando a mi gente. A la guaracha mi gente. Que traigo sabroso y caliente. Oye, yo soy el siguiente. Oye, me como la gente. Yo soy para mover el valiente. Oye, para basar a mi gente.
Well, hopefully people hearing that song that aren't real familiar with Hector Rivera will want to explore in more depth his music. And let's say hello to Alfonso Ramos, who is with us, who is saying what a great pianist that Hector Rivera was. So tell us a little bit more about your time with Hector.
Okay. So like I was saying, Hector must have studied very hard. I mean, I don't know the length of his studying, but he learned his instrument very, very well. Especially, he could read music very fast and very well. He understood the charts so good that as a young man, he was already writing arrangements for different bands.
Wow.
And I can't tell what his age was, but I know he was not an old timer. So he was doing arrangements for uh, Joe Cuba, Machito, different bands, and he was still young. So anyway, by the time I got into that he made a little group, I had already worked with two different little groups, you know, and I was happy to be in his band. And after shortly, what, maybe a year, maybe less, he breaks up the band. He says, I'm going to give up the band. You know, I hate to do this, but his opportunity was he got signed by Johnny Pacheco. to be Johnny Pacheco's arranger and his pianist.
Wow.
So Johnny Pacheco got 2 for 1, you know what I mean, by the
Yeah.
Hector, which was our loss, but Johnny Pacheco's gain, you know. But c'est la vie, life goes on, and uh, the lifespan of bands is usually very short. The
Okay.
only band, yeah, very short, very short. Only band that went on forever, on and on, were the super band that came early, made monster hits, or had extraordinary performer like Tito Puente, uh, Machito, and Tito Rodriguez. That was the only bands that went on and on for year after year after year.
Mhm.
Oh, and Puerto Rico, a Gran Combo. That band was forever. Yeah, they're still around today.
And
The Gran
Sonora
Combo.
Ponceña too.
Sonora Ponceña was my favorite band at that time. But lately, in the last few years, another good friend of mine knocked them out of my favorite. My next favorite is Willie Rosario. Willie Rosario has a fantastic band. I mean, Jesus, his
Perfect.
recording, yeah, his recordings are extraordinary, man.
Yes.
But uh,
Yes.
but the average bands like Ray Barretto, Larry Hollow, they had to keep changing musicians, and they would work for a while, then they don't work for a while. It was touch and go,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So the musicians always had to be jumping to different bands. You work with this band, then you work with that band, then this band works 3 months, then they got no work, so you go. Especially if you earn a living from music, you don't have no other income.
Yeah.
So every time you're down at the musicians union that had a hiring hall, you would see if you get more work. So I ended up working with from 3-piece band to 10-piece band,
Wow.
whatever came. One of the most money I made was the small group, and it was a Jewish guy called Lenny Stewart.
Okay.
Lenny Stewart had 4 pieces, so he worked everywhere. Right. Bar mitzvahs, weddings, birthdays. So you work, and he was on the accordion. He
Oh,
played a
yay.
Yeah, he played accordion. He was a handsome guy. He played accordion, and I was his conga player, and he had a stinger, and we played everywhere. By the pool in Long Island, extraordinary. But you had to hustle all the time. You got to go down to the union. That's why they had a hiring hall
Uh-huh.
for musicians who work for music. And you went there to get a job. And you can't be particular who you work for. You're going to get a job.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So
So,
you were telling me about Jose Curbelo and Herbie Mann. So go into that story.
okay. Ray, like I said, Ray Mantilla was my most influential teacher. He taught me well. In the meantime, while he was teaching me, he was working with Jose Curbelo and his orchestra. And while he was working with Jose Curbelo, he meets up with Herbie Main at the Union Hall, and I don't know how they came about, but now Herbie Main must have heard him or used him locally once, but now he wants him to go to Europe with him, with his group, his 6 pieces. I think he had 6 pieces, a jazz group. So he calls me, yo, Benny, I'm going to Europe with Herbie Main. Uh, I want you to take my spot with Jose Cubelo's band. Ah, did you tell Jose Cubelo? He said, yeah, yeah. I called him. He said, I told him you're gonna be there this weekend. And it was at the Hotel Lexington on 46th Street and Lexington Avenue. The hotel, and that was the Jose Cubella had the house band there. So I went there, and Jose Cubella was a tough guy. Carried a gun. He made sure you saw the gun when he paid you,
Okay.
so you don't mess with him. You know what I mean? You Bonilla? Yeah, Bonilla. Okay. Uh, give him a jacket. So they had the leopard skin jackets. You know. Oh, so I put on this leopard skin jacket, and my big thrill of that band was not being in that band, Jose Cubello, was that standing right next to me was one of the best singers at that time. His name was Bobby Escoto. And
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Bobby Escoto was a top singer. And he's singing right next to me, man. Yeah. Babalagua. Oh my God, man. My head used to stand up, man.
Wow.
Yeah, man. I was a kid, man. You
Wow.
know?
Starstruck. How wonderful.
Yeah. So I worked off and on about 6 months because Ray would come back and he'd take his job back. And that's okay. Then he'd call me 2 months later. Listen, man, I'm going to Europe again, man. I call Joe. He called him Joe. I called Jose Cubello, and he said okay. So I would go back to Jose Cubello's band, back and forth. But then from there, I ended up with another Jose Boudet. Jose Boudet had
Mhm.
this 14-piece band, and he never recorded. I don't know why I never asked him. It
Mhm.
was it was not my thing to ask him. And uh, the he had a woman in the band on piano, Josefina Andrades.
Hmm.
She was his pianist, Josefina Andrades, and she heard me practicing upstairs. So when I came down, she made believe that she was indignant. Oye, eso era tú de arriba, con este ruido. Oh, perdona, man. I'm apologizing, man.
Mhm.
But then she started laughing. She said, "No, no, I'm only kidding." She said, "Listen, do me a favor. Do you want to be in a band?" I said, "Yeah." She said, so come to the rehearsal on Thursday at the American Legion Hall on 111. So I go. And boom, this big band, all old timers. I think I was 18 or 19. They're all old timers, man. They
Wow.
they ended up treating me like I was the son. They won't let me drink. They won't let me do this. Yo, man, I'm only gonna have a beer, man. Man, be careful what you drink, man. I had 14 fathers, man, because they were all old timers, and I was a young kid,
Yeah.
you know. But
Wow. Now, you know what?
but
Something that.
like everything else, work started cutting down on them because it's big band. People were not hiring big bands that much unless you're a name band, Tiro Puente, Machito, you know. So I ended up going with some other band. I mean, I can't tell you how many bands I've been in my life, man. I was itemizing how many bands, and when I reached 50, I said, "Oh, wait a minute, man, forget about this shit." you know, you know. But
So tell me the difference between and the advantages of having a union card versus or in addition to a cabaret card, and tell us what a cabaret card is.
okay, a union card means that you're a working musician, and they will protect you by making sure that the band you're with is all union members. and they cannot hire non-union members to they have to hire union members so you get to work.
Mm-hmm.
So they kind of guaranteed you a job. Now a cabaret card meant that you had no record. It was a police card. It means that you had no record, never been convicted of anything, never been in jail. So many artists, and I'm talking about the biggest names in the business, refused to work in New York because they didn't want a no cabaret card. One of them was Sinatra. Frank Sinatra said, "I would not work in New York in the lounges, you know." But I mean, he would work a theater because the
Mm-hmm.
theater don't sell liquor or nothing. So
Uh-huh.
he would work in the theater for 2 weeks or a week, but he would not perform in anywhere, any lounges or bars or anything. Sinatra, and there were other artists who thought the same way. You know, uh, one of the spots where they would work often, and I used to go there. Matter of fact, I worked there. They were right across the bridge. It's Fort Lee. You know that. You
Yes, I
go
know where that
across.
is. Yes.
Okay, at the top of the hill, there was there was a lounge cabaret called the uh the Red Mill, I think, or something like that.
Okay.
Anyway, he that the owner of that ended up owning hotels in Las Vegas, but all the artists were working New Jersey rather than working New York because of the cabaret
Mm.
cards.
Hmm.
On top of that, if you were going to Venezuela,
Uh-huh.
you had to provide them with a letter and fingerprints, and I have them. If people don't believe me, I'll send it to them. A letter with your picture, fingerprints that you had no record to travel.
Wow. Wow.
And a lot of artists don't like to do that.
Mm-hmm.
And many of them have records. And they've been in jail for drugs. So anyway, there were a lot of restrictions on musicians in the late 40s and 50s. And you had to have those things if you were going to work.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I still have my letter from authorizing me to perform in Panama. Then in Panama, you got to get a work permit.
Wow.
Yeah, man.
Wow.
Yo,
Red
you want me
tape.
to you want me to gig or you don't want me to play, man? What is it?
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? But you
Wow.
put all this, you know what I mean? But the one that handles all this is your how do you
Your
call it?
manager? Your manager or
Whoever manages your band
oh,
takes care of all that. Takes care of the paperwork. Make sure you got a visa. Make sure you got a letter of good conduct. That's what it's called. Letter of
wow.
good conduct. Yeah, man. Letter of good conduct. Cabaret card. Give me a break. You know what I mean? But
Wow.
that was the deal. So you had to go along with it. But by 1960, that was all gone.
Okay.
All gone. All gone.
Okay.
By 1960, finished.
Well, you gave me a bunch of names, and I'm just going to repeat them, and you tell me what this refers to. Miguelito Valdez, Julio Andino, El Santiago, let's see, Palmieri, Orlando Marin, Joe Quijano, Ray Barreto. Do you remember when you told me all those names?
Yes, I do. I have it right.
Okay.
I'm gonna show you something.
Okay.
I would first of all, this is 1952.
The year I was born.
What?
Yes.
Ah. That's Orlando Marin and me.
Move it over a little bit. We've got the glare. Move it to your left.
My left.
Yes. Oh, wow.
1952. Sunnyside
Wow.
Garden in Queens. All right. That's one artist. The next
Okay.
one is one of my best girlfriends, La Lupe, and me on tour.
Oh, wow. I would
Yeah,
not know that's her.
that's La
Wow.
Lupe. She was on tour in Puerto Rico.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I was her drummer. You
Mm-hmm.
know, that takes care of that. Now, moving down the line, where is he? Where are you? Oh, I know. Let me show you a couple of CDs. All right,
Okay. Okay.
we're talking about Tito Puente. How's that? That's my boy, Tito
Very young.
Puente.
Very young.
Very, very young, very handsome. My man, Machito.
Oh, love him.
Machito. I got, and of course, oh, the one, you remember you asked me about Nesta Sanchez?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Here he is in Orquesta La Protesta de Tony
Move it
Pabon.
over. Move it to your left. Little more. Little more. Oh, wow.
Do you see him with there? That's
Yes,
Nesta
the one with
Sanchez.
the white sailor hat. The
Yeah,
second from our right.
yeah, that's
Oh,
not Nesta Sanchez.
we're we're
Yeah.
gonna we're gonna talk about them, but before we do that, I kind of want to go in the order that you talked to me about, and tell us how you teamed up with Pete Rodriguez. How did that come about?
Okay. Like I said to you, I was working with Hector Rivera, and he disbanded the group to work with Johnny Pacheco. So I was out of work a month or two, something like that. Pete lived 4 buildings away from where I lived, same block. Uh, his drummer was a friend of mine. So he ran into me down the block and he said, "Hey, Benny, I'm moving because my mother getting married again and we're going to move." Oh, well, okay, cool. He said, "No, but Pete got a little band, man. And I want to tell him to use you, you know?" So he told me, "Come to the rehearsal. I'll, I'm going to tell Pete that, you know, but Pete knows you, so it's not going to be no problem."
Mm-hmm.
So that's what happened. I went up to them, no drums, no nothing, because the guy had drums there. And so before they started to rehearse, Pete told me, "Do you want to be in a band?" I said, "Yeah, of course. Work is work, right?"
Yeah.
So I joined the band. So that's how I got in the band. Now, lucky for Pete, that my brother, his motto was, he used to tell me, "Any band you work with, I'm going to book that band as often as I can." So now he not only got a drummer, but he got a booking agent. He got somebody to hustle the band.
Uh-huh.
See? All right. So that's how I got in the band. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
Well, I think this is the perfect time to play Pete's biggest hit, and then we're gonna talk about it. So Earl, let's put on the song that everybody knows. Most Americans knew it first from the Burger King commercial. We knew it from the Boogaloo era. So let's hear a little bit of it, please.
Now let's get this straight. Boogaloo, baby, I made it great because I gave it the Latin beat. You know, child, I'm kind of hard to beat. Just commence your feet to skate. Pick up around and make it shake. Baby, if you think you're shy, go someplace and hide. I like it like that. You better believe me when I tell you. I said I like it like that. Come on, baby. I like it like that. I like it like that. I said I like it like that. Come on, it's like that. I like it like that. I got the soul. I got the feet. I like it like that. I got the soul. Baby, look at it. I like it like that. Yeah, baby. I said I like it like that. I like it like that. I like it like that. Just see the good thing I need. Clap your hands if you want some more. Stomp your feet if you think I need. Clap your hands if you want some more.
So, yes, talk to us about this new style of music.
That brought back great memories. You know, in Panama, Richie had booked the band in Panama, and the band was at its height, hot, and so they're bringing us from the hotel into the stadium.
Wow.
Maybe 15,000 people, 20, I don't know. They got two limousines going to the stadium, and there are other bands performing, so they perform. So when we get there, they open the big gates, and we pull into the stadium. And as they see the limousines, the people see the limousines coming in unison, they all start, ooh, ah, ooh, ah. Now, a stadium doing that is like mind-boggling, man. 15,000 people going, ooh, ah, ooh. And they kept it up while we got out of the limousine. They kept it up. And we got on the stage because, you know, we have band boys. The instruments were already on the stage. And they kept it up ooh, until we joined in with them.
Wow.
Then when we joined in with them, that was, wow, what a sight. I could not believe that at all, man.
What a memory.
But you know, I like how that became such a big hit because it was simple tune. And the man that composed it and arranged it was a great artist, and he sold it the right way. Tony would get up on the stage and he would talk to the people. He says it in the song. Don't worry about it, just be yourself, you know what I'm saying? But what sold it is that all of a sudden, you don't have to know how to mambo, and you don't have to know how to cha-cha. Do whatever you like. Boogaloo, you could jump up and down, go sideways, hold your girlfriend, don't hold her. What's the difference? It's a do what you like, dance, freestyle.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they picked up, the kids were just waiting for something that was theirs. The other music was the father's music. That's the grandfather's music. Mambo, that's mom and dad's shit, man. But they born here. All these kids were born here. So all of a sudden, man, this something is for them. You know what I mean? And that's why it took, my opinion, of course, it took off so big because, and not only that, I am still amazed at hearing it today in the background of different commercials or movies. It's not in the forefront, but you could hear it in the back. and people dancing. I'm not gonna lie to that. Holy smokes, man.
Cardi B, come on, Cardi B has her own
Yeah,
version.
Cardi B. Yeah, Cardi
Yeah.
B. Yeah, yeah. She was. When I heard that, I said, "Oh, God, look at this, man." You know what I mean? But that's it. That the kids are looking something for themselves. That's why hip hop is so great because it belongs to them. That's their stuff. Yeah, I mean, you can't take it away.
You can't
So,
beat English lyrics and an R&B and a Latin combination beat. I mean, that's, that's pretty much who we were back then, into
yeah,
the American culture and into the Latin culture.
yeah. And then we followed up. It never made it as big as I like it like that. But if you see, this is called "Oh That's Nice." It had the same kind of da da da. Oh, that's nice, and the audience would sing the song. You know what I mean? So that was peace. You know what I mean? But everywhere we went, it was just I couldn't believe it, man. I had never experienced nothing like that, man. I had never experienced. The same thing happened in Los Angeles, uh, Hollywood, Miami, wherever the band went, man. It was just people waiting at the airport. Never mind the dance. People waiting that's the biggest thrill of my life, and I'm very fortunate to have lived that and went through it. You know what I mean?
Wow. It's like
But
the Beatles.
not quite, but it resembles.
If they're waiting at the airport,
It
that's pretty
resembles.
big. That's pretty
Yeah.
big. Let's get into since we were talking about I Like It Like That. Let's play this this trailer from a documentary, and it's called We Like It Like That: The Story of Latin Boogaloo. So let's cue that up, Earl.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Did you say we like it like that or I like it like that?
We Like It Like That: The
Or
Story of Latin Boogaloo.
That's the Joe Batan thing.
Well,
okay.
Hey, that's the lick. BB. BB. Bang, bang. You know, we're going to record this.
There was something wonderful about being on the dance floor and everybody's doing beep, beep.
You groove with it, man. You went from side to side.
So it's kind of like a funky guajira. And I was fascinated by that. I said, whoa, yeah.
It's not that music from Havana, Cuba that was pure. It ain't pure no more. We here.
The Boogaloo encompassed a sense of invention from the inside out rather than the outside in.
It's not a question of yo estoy aquí bien, ay bendito. No. I walk these streets. I own this motherfucker. This is mine.
Every generation wants their own music. They don't want their parents' music.
They wasn't gonna go backwards. They liked what they were hearing in the street, and the Boogaloo was there. The younger generation adapted it as their own music.
The music was loud, but just like rock. It's about saying kind of like F you, man.
So I went up to the piano, and I took the knife and I stuck it into the piano. Boom. And I said, you know what? I'm the leader of this band. And that's how we did things back then, you know?
We took control. We took matters into our own hands, and the music was part of that.
Boogaloo hit so hard that the status quo was terrified of it.
The powers that be basically conspired to squash that movement.
The purists took over, and they brought back the typical Latin sound, and they kept it that way.
They died a horrible death.
Good music will always be good music. It will stand the test of time.
You have to give it its blessing. It raised the bar for what was going to be Latin music.
Latin Boogaloo, a rhythmic mix born in Spanish Harlem, and now this music is making a comeback, big time.
They feel it in London. They feel it in Australia. They feel it in Japan.
Once you start feeling those polyrhythms, you start bugging out like, yow.
At this point in my life, I don't think Boogaloo will ever die.
Love
So
it.
you served as an expert consultant on that documentary. Tell us about that.
I Joe Batan is a good friend of mine. I talk to him all the time, at least every couple of months, because he's always away on tour someplace. You know what I mean? But the first time a friend of mine, when I lived on 105th, I had just gotten married, and my friend Jose Acosta lived on Park Avenue, and he told me, "Hey, I want you to." He was a musician, a pianist, and he says, "I want you to hear these guys. They rehearsing on First Avenue." So we went, and it was Joe Batan. He had just formed a group. I said, "Wow, man, that stuff is heavy. What he's doing, man, because he was doing Gypsy Woman. Now, Gypsy Woman is a fabulous arrangement, man. And so then the following week, which I didn't know, we're working in the Bronx at the Colgate Gardens, and he's the early band there. So when we got there, Joe Batan was on the stage already. I said, "Oh man, didn't I just leave that kid in Harlem?" So, but I'm listening to him, man, and I hear him saying, "Her Gypsy Woman." I said, "Wow, this guy's gonna be big," and I was right. And I told him, and he reminds people he talks to that I told him, "You're gonna be big. Stay together. Don't get pushed out of shape, and stay together because you guys he's gonna be big." And he did it. He left music for a while because of the financial business. You know, the financial end of music in the 70s, man, was terrible, man. No work. There was no work for nobody. You know, you had to keep hustling. Pete, luckily, knock on wood, still had work, but it was bad. So he went to work for a juvenile home, Joe Batam, for until he retired. And then he retired and went right back into the music like he never left. Hot as a pistol. I thought Joe, you're incredible, man. Nobody can retire and come back as hot as you have right now, you know. So, like I said, he's been to my home. We had barbecues in the backyard every 4th of July. We we had to stop the barbecues that we used to have. We had it for 20 years,
Mm-hmm.
but we had to stop them because it got so crowded that you had to walk. You couldn't walk in the backyard, man. The people were jammed in tight, man.
Wow.
And my wife would say, "Well, how are we gonna feed all these people, man?" You know what I mean? So that was the end of the barbecue. You know what I mean? But
Wow.
they were good. They were good days, yeah. And I like Joe Batan. I like what's his name? He worked
Johnny Colon, maybe?
Johnny's a very fine gentleman, and was very community minded. He was the organizer of a music school. He tried to help his people. In the meantime, he was a musician since he was a kid. I think his whole family was musicians, you
Wow.
know. And Johnny Colon was another fine gentleman, you know. And I don't say that a lot about all musicians because some of them were like, man, you know, you see them record the street, you know what I mean? But Johnny was one of the good guys, Joe Bataan, good guys, man.
Well, let's talk about your neighborhood. It seems like you lived in a neighborhood full of people who became celebrities. Who were some of the people that were in your neighborhood?
Okay, I I lived in the um in the Bronx, of course. But our main thing was stickball, and stickball was very heavy on Longwood Avenue and Kelly Street and Jackson Avenue. So on Jackson Avenue, I would be sitting on a stoop and going to practice with sticks under his arm. Mikey Collazo, who used to work with Tito Rodriguez for years and years and years. Where you going, Mikey? I'm going to practice. I'm going to my lessons. So that's why he ended up with the best band because he studied all the time. I,
Wow.
I, I was fooling around with stickball and I when I had time I practiced. You know what I mean? But some guys were really heavy, man. We had we had him. We had geez, I had a list right here. Someplace. Give me a moment. One moment. One moment. I forgot. There's so many names, man. They were. I'm gonna name names you probably people don't never heard of, but people will look at a band and love the band as a whole, or idolize the band leader, whoever he is, but they never knew the musician's name.
Hmm.
Who was on saxophone? I don't know. Trumpet player. Trumpet player. They had trumpets. Of course, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? But there was a guy, a drummer, Joe Rodriguez. He died about 4 or 5 years ago. He was Charlie Palmieri's drummer and Orquesta La Dubonnet.
Wow.
Joe Rodriguez. Now, Joe Rodriguez in 1951 went into the army, and they sent him to excuse me, they sent him to Korea, and from Korea he went to Japan. Now in Japan he was bored, talk Japanese, and he would go listen to these groups and everything. So he saw a group that he liked, a Japanese band. So he writes to his mother for her to send him his bongos.
Wow.
So she sent him his bongos. So he ends up joining that band, turned that band into a mambo band. I'm trying to think of the name of it. Yeah, I'm sorry I can't remember the name of the band, but it had a fantastic.
A
Yeah,
couple that you told me about, Victor Pantoja. Tell us who that was to you.
Victor Pantoja and he was my cousin. The two cousins. We lived in the same building, and there was Victor and the older guy. We knew him mostly by his name was Sapo, because he looked like a frog.
Oh, yay.
Yeah, well, they call him Sapo, and they were my cousins. And Sapo was very adventurous, very crazy, man. Do all crazy stuff, man. Go up on the roof. Me go on the roof? Are you crazy? You know. But then one day we were walking through uh, Central Park, and we get to 110th Street, and on the corner of Fifth Avenue and 110, there's a ballroom, and we could hear the music. So we're standing outside the door listening to the music. So he tells me, "Hey, I know how to get in there." So we go around the corner, which was an empty lot then. Now it's got high rises,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the with windows and everything. So anyway, he said, we're going to the window. I said, okay. So he opens the window and he told me, oh, go ahead. Why I gotta go first? You know, why don't you go first? Yeah. So I go in and it's the men's room. Oh, Sapo, come in. So he comes in. So again, you go up first, Benny. Actually, my name wasn't Benny then. It was Junior. They used to call me Junior. Junior, you go up. Oh man. So I go up the stairs, not knowing that at the end of the stairs, to the left, is the bandstand. And when I get to the top of the bandstand, I hear the sound that I would never forget in my whole life. Tanga. Machito's band is blowing away the place, man.
Wow.
Ah, don't. Ah, and I'm trying to grab it all. When they grabbed me by my neck and they threw me out of the ballroom. Get out! I said, oh my God, man! But I never could forget that sound. That sound. So a few weeks later, maybe a month, we had already moved to the Bronx. So I went down to the barrio to hang out with the fellas. And I said, I'm gonna go by that ballroom again. I can't remember the name right now. The Plaza, Park Plaza,
Okay.
Park Plaza, and I went by again, but I don't dare sneak in. I'm standing by the door, and there was another band out there. I could tell it was a different band, you know. So when I hear a car pull up, boom, I look, and it's the drummer. Later, I became his student. His name was Uba Nieto, Machito's drummer.
Big name.
And he gets out with the bass drum, and I tell him, hey, can I help you with that? So he tells me in Spanish, oye, lo que tú quieres es meterte en el baile. I told him, yeah, man. So he said, oh, come on. So I grabbed the drum, and I'm walking toward the door, and Federico Pagani, who was a big promoter in those days, ¿a tú vas? I'm with him. So Uba tells him, man, don't be like that. Let him go in. No, I can't because he's a minor, and I lose my license. He said, look, man, he don't drink. He's not going to dance. He just wants to hear the band, man. This is okay. So now Federico Pagani has done me the biggest favor you can ever do. He tells me, you're going in, but you have to sit on the stage behind the curtain. You mean right next to the band? No, you're kidding. So I sat near the baritone. That was Leslie. His name was Leslie. And for about an hour, man, I soaked in all that Arte de la Rumba, Tanga, Guardia con el Olete. Oh, it would just drive me crazy. All them songs, you know. And Graciela, forget it, Graciela. I fell in love with Graciela, man. Oh my God, you know what I mean? Graciela would get a, I said to her one time, years later, on her birthday, I went to her birthday. I told her, Graciela, you have no idea how many couples who were dancing to your song that you were singing got married that night. You know what I mean? So she bust out laughing, man. I told her, your song just make you fall in love, man.
Yeah.
So anyway, that was my baptism to real mambo. That's why I could never get Machito out of my system ever. I like Tito Puente. I like Tito Rodriguez. But Machito is, you put on a Machito record today, that was made 70 years ago, and it sounds modern. That's how great it is. The arrangement.
Yep.
I mean, it doesn't get old. But you put on some American music or some other music that's 70 years old, you say, "Oh God, damn, take that shit off, man." You know what I mean? But
Well, it's time for us to move on to the next stage in your life with Tony Pabon y La Protesta. So
yeah,
let's listen to a song from what you consider one of his best albums, El Capitan, and it's featuring Nestor Sanchez, one of my favorite
yes,
singers.
yes.
All right, Earl, let's do Tony Pabon. Well, let's see if it comes on.
Traigo la salsa dulce, mira, yo traigo el sabor. Traigo la salsa dulce, mira, yo traigo el sabor. Tanto no tengo y capitán no soy. Con la salsa que hay en mi canto busco a donde quiera que yo voy. Traigo la salsa dulce, mira, yo traigo el sabor. Esta salsa que traigo si alimenta. Cuando me pongo a cantar se condimenta. Traigo la salsa dulce, mira, yo traigo el sabor. Acompáñame, tráete tu condimento. Yo le pongo un poco de sentimiento a tu salsa. Traigo la salsa dulce, mira, yo traigo el sabor. Cuánta sabrosura te digo en mi canto, te doy bongo. Sigo con mi salsa y mi guaguanco. Traigo la salsa dulce, mira, yo traigo el sabor. Oye, mami, está hecha de caramelo.
So tell us about Tony and his band.
Tony Pabon was a real talented gentleman. When he was a young man, he was a rock and roll freak. He used to sing rock and roll on the corners. You know, those harmony groups.
Doo-wop.
Doo-wop. We got it. He used to sing doo-wop in the neighborhoods and school and everything. He was really tuned into rock and roll. But in the meantime, he learned trumpet. And one of his early bands was called Randy Carlos. And in Randy Carlos' band, he meets Pete's younger brother, Manny Rodriguez, on conga. And he leaves Randy Carlos and he goes to work for Pete Rodriguez. And Tony Pabon had the best personality I have seen in this business. I mean, I've seen some good singers and everything, but he was like so. I mean, he just got on the stage and he gave you a hell of a performance, man. He not only sang the song, man, but he performed, and he became the arranger for that band and everything. But it was just a regular band, Pete Rodriguez. Now the story goes, my brother, who now becomes the manager, brings two West Indian guys to the rehearsal. And they listen to the band. Oh, yeah, okay. How much? Good price. Okay. We want you to back up. The headline is going to be Eddie Palmieri. Eddie was burning hot, you know. And you guys are the opening band. Okay, that's not a problem. It's work. And he said, but you got to do me a favor. Bring the band into the studio to record a 1 or 2 minute introductory song for the People Jiggers band. I know Eddie Palmieri and his band, and so forth and so on. And then People Jiggers, whatever song. Okay. So we get into the studio and we tear into what's supposed to be our best mambo. So after we finish, the guy comes out and says, "Nah, that ain't gonna make it. I want something more with a little American in it. Not a lot, but these are all West Indian people who are gonna be at this dance." Oh my God! Then why you hire a Spanish band for? Yeah, it's okay. So Tony says, "Look, all right, just give us a little while." And he takes Pete on the side, maybe 20 minutes. This chord, that chord, that, and he tells them, "Okay, you want to do this, do that," and so then he says, "Okay, let's go." So Pete starts, and then he starts, "Ladies and gentlemen, I give you Pete Rodriguez. I like it like that. I like it." And so forth. So the guy said, hold it. He comes out. He said, "That's it." But there were four of the wives. One of them was my wife. In the sound booth, "Bring the girls out here. That's going to be the chorus." So he put the wives to sing "I Like It Like That." And he did that all in 15 minutes. Arrangement, tune, lyrics, everything. That's Tony Pabon, man.
Wow.
Tony Pabon wrote every single hit that band ever had. He made Pete a rich man.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Amazing what
I
that.
never saw him. I never saw Tony Pabon's band ever.
Yeah, well, he had to do. He asked Pete for a raise. I mean, if I'm making you rich, you can't give me a raise. So Pete held them off. No. All right. So then we working in this ballroom called the Cabo Rojeño in Manhattan. And in between sets, because there's three bands, so you have a long break. We used to go to the bar downstairs, just hang out until it's time to go upstairs. So it's time for us to go up. But in the meanwhile, Tony tells us the story of how he asked Pete for a $5 raise, and Pete told him no. So now Pete comes down, "Oh man, you guys are late, come on." We're not going up till Tony gets his $5 raise. As a matter of fact, we all want a $5 raise. That's called a revolution. Tony, I'm not going to tell you. I mean, Pete said, "Well, you guys are a bunch of X. Yeah, but we got the raise." But he barely spoke to the band again. As long as he had the band, as long as I was in the band. So he had a problem with that. I don't know why. If this man is writing all your hits, every single one, not 4, 3, or 2, every single hit that you have is Tony Pabon's, and you're not going to give him a $5 raise? I know he's getting royalties or whatever, but he wanted $5 from Pete.
Right.
Now Pete probably regrets it. That's another story. So anyway, that's what happened with Tony. So Tony finally got fed up with writing and not getting what he felt was due, so he left. I'm giving my notice. So he left. So several months later, maybe 2, 3 months later, for whatever reason it was, I left too. We had an incident happen on the stage, and I didn't appreciate it, and I told I'm leaving. So I left too. So I meet Tony. I forgot where I met Tony, and then he told me, "How's the band doing?" I said, "I don't know. I left." He said, "What?" I said, "Yeah, I'm gone." He says, he tells me, "Have you got bongo? You got bongo?" "Yeah, I got bongos." "Bring him to the rehearsal on Thursday at the church in El Barrio where he rehearses." So that's how I got into his band. So I ended up being on every instrument you could. Then I was in the band on bongos. Then the timbalera had an issue with the owner of a dance hall that we were working in, and the owner banned him.
Oh dear.
Yeah, he banned him. So I got the job from bongos to drums. You know what I mean? So but in the meantime, I met this guy, Johnny Santana, who later ended up with Mongo Santa Maria, who was a drummer too. And I loved the way he played drums, man. And I would help you. It's not about me. It's this guy is good. He should be the drummer. So, but I didn't recommend him until the conga player we had got sick and had to leave the band. So Tony tells me next week you're gonna switch to conga back to your original instrument. So I told him I got a guy for you. He said, "No, don't bring me nobody." I said, "I got a guy for you, man." Anyway, I brought him to the Caballeño, and he's standing there, geeky, meek. He was very humble, Johnny. And I told her, "Hey, Tony, I got this guy here. He went into audition." "No, I ain't got no time for that." So we do one set. I said, "Tony, don't make me look bad, man." So he was my friend. So he said, "All right, bring him up." Johnny Santana. So he got behind the drums and never got off for the next 5 years.
Wow.
That's how good he was. Hired on the spot. Tony would say, "Oh, God, man, this guy is awesome." I talk to him at least once a week or once every other week. I talk to Johnny. And then after that, when the band split up, it didn't split up, but Tony got sick. He caught something in his lungs. He needed an operation. So after they operated him, he passed out on the stage in Hartford, Connecticut.
Oh my God.
On the stage, boom. Took him to the hospital. They had to operate, and they told him, "No more heavy blowing, baby." That was the end of that. So but God knows what he's doing, man. He needed Tony where he was, and he moved to New City, New York, and he became a minister. He became a
Wow.
minister. Yeah, Tony Pabon became a minister, and he had a congregation. You know, but the experiences with this band was like too much, man. With Tony Pabon's band, because I'm gonna back up a little bit, okay, man? You don't
Okay.
mind, do you? Okay.
Go ahead.
We're on tour in Puerto Rico. Now, his band, Protesta, was super hot in Puerto Rico. Why? Because he was an independista, and he wrote this rebel song called La Banda, and the words like were very fiery, man, against the United States, man. So, but the students in Puerto Rico, they love that stuff. Oh, man, Tony Pabon, la protesta. Look at the name of the band, the Protest.
Right.
That That tells you right there, right? So now we're at a dance in Bayamon. After we did a tour of Puerto Rico, Calle, San Juan, we go to Bayamon University to play for the students. And we're playing, man, the people are dancing, all them young kids are dancing, man, and everything. And poof, the lights go on. And I feel somebody tap me on the shoulder. And I look back, a short guy, about that big, bush guy. And he looked at me, he said, con el permiso. So I move out the way. So he goes to the microphone, tap, tap, tap. Esta banda está arrestada. This band is under arrest. Cops come in, took the whole band and the buses, man. They arrested the whole band.
For what? For what?
Revolutionary songs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, man. So I think it was a night court or hearing place. It wasn't a jail. Nothing. They took us to this night court. So the judge, they called the guy that hired the band. He came over. So the judge says, what I'm gonna do with these guys, man? They talking against Puerto Rico, man. Listen to the lyrics. He wishes that Puerto Rico would sink, beneath the sea, rather than be under the United States. So we're over there like, huh? I mean, so anyway, they talk among each other, and they talk, the guy who booked the band, and they call my brother in New York and tell him what happened, and they decide, the judge or whoever or the moderator, okay, we're gonna let this band go. The charges are dismissed, but you gotta leave tomorrow morning. Go home. So we had to leave Puerto Rico. They threw us out. We had to go back. We had to pack our luggage, get on the plane, because that they booked, and go back to New York City, man. That was the protest. Tony Pabon Protesta.
I never heard of a band being arrested on stage. That is one I'll never forget.
Yeah, man. I mean it. Especially he tapped me into this. Perdona. Very gentleman. And they went to the back of
we're getting close to the end of the show, and I asked you what song you wanted to end with, and you said Machito and Yo Soy La Rumba. So we're going to hear that, and then you tell us a little bit about that before we close for the evening. So this is the favorite song of Benny Bonilla from Machito.
Una rumba, una guaracha, no tiene comparación. Los rumberos de mi tierra la repican en cajón. En la letra cualquier cosa después que tenga sabor. Unos tragos de aguardiente y el cantar de corazón. La, a la 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 la, a la 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 la, a la 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 la. Ahora sí, esto se ha puesto bueno. Ahora sí, ahora sí. Tango, tango, tango. Oye mi tango, para gozar. Ay Dios, esa quiero sueltar, yo me voy a tirar como en el solar. Oye mi rumba que buena, yo me tiro pa'l solar. Venga, gozar mi morena, vente conmigo a solar. Oye mi rumba que buena, yo me tiro pa'l solar. Esa ropa está la rumba, vente conmigo a gozar. Oye mi rumba.
That's it. The rumba.
Wow.
Rumba.
3 voices
Yeah.
on there. We have to say hi to Lupe Torres. She's one of our most faithful viewers. And I'll just introduce you. Lupe, this is Benny. Benny, this is Lupe. And
how you doing?
Benny, it has been such a pleasure to have you on tonight to share your memories, your experiences, and the insider knowledge that we would never, ever know. So thank you for coming on, and we wish you the best, and let us know if
Thank
anything
you.
new happens
Thank you.
in your life, okay?
Thank you so much, Eileen. God bless you. Stay
And
safe.
Earl, thank
Okay.
you.
Earl too. Say hi to Earl. Bye-bye.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Okay. Thank you so much, Mr. Bonilla, for coming on
Okay,
the
babe.
show. All right. Okay.
that's-
Next week we have Magna Gopal. The week after that we do part 2 with Hernan Oliveira, and the
Oliveira.
last week of the month I interview my co-pilot Eileen Torres we talk about her new book that's coming out. So hopefully you guys can tune in to the next couple of weeks. Thank you so much, Mr. Bonilla. Eileen, I'll see you later.
Okay.
Good night.
Good night,
Take it
everyone.
easy. All right, babe.